Good morning, everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to be joining you on today's call, our monthly update on digital government in the government of BC. Today is obviously the December edition. I hope that everybody is staying healthy and safe in the midst of the pandemic, and looking forward to an action-packed half an hour with us. I am thrilled to be joined today by Bev Dix, who is the Assistant Deputy Minister responsible for Service BC. So as usual, we're going to start with a few updates on digital government, and then we're going to move over to a bit of an informal conversation with Bev. So obviously a lot has been happening in digital government in the last little while, and we have a whole new suite of mandate letters, many of which highlight things that relate to digital change. So I'm going to go through some of those and just provide some general updates on the digital framework before we double down on a bit of a conversation around Service BC and digital identity. So on that third slide, this is just a quick reminder of BC's digital framework. For those of you who are perhaps joining this monthly call for the first time, digital government is about using new tools from the internet age to deliver great services to British Columbians. We are really looking to use those modern technologies to optimize our processes, both within the government and externally. To accelerate some of this work, we of course embraced our digital framework almost a year and a half ago now, and it's based on a number of pillars that you see laid out on the screen here. So services to citizens, government exists to serve people, digital tools are really just an effort to optimize that. Data and information, this is about having accessible, reliable data that can be easily used to inform decision making and provide services. Digital government in BC here, it's obviously about being digital inside, empowering wonderful digital teams like yourselves to be able to provide the best services you can, and finally being connected outside. So ensuring that we're bringing the communities that we serve along on our journey and designing with and for those communities in a truly inclusive manner. So that's just a quick, 30-second reminder of what is the digital framework. We've been making lots of progress over the last few months. I'll quickly run through a couple of highlights for me, and then I'll flag a few things that really jumped out to me from the mandate letters as being things to watch when it comes to digital government. So on slide 4, you see that we had previously made commitments around modernizing the way that we fund digital. And we've made good progress here, accelerated not least through some of the ongoing work around the operating model for IM and IT across government. Within this body of work, we had talked about modernizing the way that technology is funded so that we can accelerate the speed at which projects get off the ground. We can maximize the value for money for those scarce tax dollars that we're administering. We've made some good progress. One of my teams is responsible for supporting the Digital Investment Board, which is that deputy minister level committee that's empowered to manage government's minor IMIT capital envelope. It's worth about $110 million a year. So we've done quite a bit of work to clarify some of the processes for accessing that board and accessing those funds. We have a new template that's available on the Digital Investment Office's intro website. We've clarified the processes and tested it with a number of ministry partners. In terms of next steps, we're going to be trying to make even more progress on results metrics and really making sure that when we invest in digital government and digital services, we are truly benefiting the people of BC. And we'll continue to improve the work around our digital support team, which is that new team that's in place within the Ministry of Citizen Services. Slide 5, you see some insight into some of the policy objectives that we've set for ourselves. I believe that last time I spent some time talking about some of the really interesting work that the team's been doing around ethical AI and efforts to really make sure that our policy framework is up to date to support innovation in terms of the use of technology. The team has been really making lots of good progress on on a data management policy, as well as efforts to update our open government policy. And of course, many of you would have seen that in the Ministry of Citizen Services mandate letter, we have a commitment around open data. So this is made all the more important. Next steps will be to continue to advance that data management policy and engage the community, so people like yourselves. Next slide. On slide 6, you see some good progress on modernizing the tools that are available for providing digital services. So the enterprise architecture branch within the Ministry of Citizen Services has made some good progress on hosting, guidance around application development. There's now a CRM playbook available that hopefully we can drop into the chat on Slido. We also have a new cloud landing zone for application development. So lots of great progress there. And the next big things that you'll be seeing there are further progress on access to cloud-based tools, as well as updates around digital.gov.bc.ca. Around platform tools, this is related. We are really pleased to be providing access to a DevOps platform. So one of those tools that allow digital teams to get services off the ground a little bit more quickly. Here, lots of good progress happening. And in fact, I was so struck by some of the analysis coming out of this team that I just wanted to share it with you. There are many applications sitting on this platform, and the platform is going through a bit of an update. So they're upgrading it from OpenShift Container Platform 3 to 4. And through that upgrade, the team has taken upon themselves to do some analysis of the applications. So on slide 8, you can see they've done some analysis of what are the common functionalities that exist within those applications. And I love this slide because it really shows that across government, we are really embracing common design patterns and repeatable processes. So all the more reason for us to be collaborating across government, having conversations like the one that we're having today, and really working to push that coordinated, coherent government-wide approach to delivering great digital services. Before we move on from this section of the conversation, I also wanted to flag a few things in the mandate letters. If you haven't looked at them yet, I really do encourage you to look at government's new mandate letters. They don't come out that often, and they're just such a wonderful way to get great insight into the priorities of the government that we serve. We went through all of the mandate letters and looked for things that relate to digital government. And there were some really interesting ones in there. Within my own ministry, within the Ministry of Citizen Services, obviously there were some big things around advancing open data, maximizing the value of IMIT procurement, that sort of thing. But across government, there were really interesting things. So just a few examples that jumped out to me over in advanced ed. There is a commitment around creating 2,000 new tech-relevant spaces in public post-secondary institutions. So really interesting to see that commitment to skills development and reskilling for the digital economy. We saw commitments in ag, looking at the emerging agri-tax industry and how we can be providing more support to BC-based companies in that regard. Education has pretty significant commitments to continuing to improve online and remote learning. Obviously, that's going to require digital tools. Over in the Ministry of Health, the health sector, we saw lots of interesting commitments in there, including around expanding e-health, providing a new hospital at home program so that patients can be more effectively supported from the comfort of their own homes. So really fascinating commitments here. In rural development, we saw commitments around further enhancing high-speed connectivity, which obviously is going to have implications for our ability to serve all British Columbians, regardless of where they live. And over in the technology and innovation files, so Jerry, the new parliamentary secretary, we saw some really interesting initiatives to support the technology sector. So all of that is to say, I think that we're going to continue to have lots of exciting work to do when it comes to providing digital services to the people of BC. I'll pause there with regards to the general updates, and I'm really excited now to get into a bit of a conversation with our special guest. So I'm thrilled to introduce you to Bev Dix. Bev is the Assistant Deputy Minister, as I said, responsible for Service BC, and one of government's real leaders when it comes to providing some of the backbone for the services that we provide through her and her team's investments in Digital ID. So welcome, Bev. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thanks, Jamie. Are we going to launch the video to set a bit of a standard?
That's a great idea. Let's jump in there.
Is that how we're going to jump into that?
Lovely. That sounds perfect.
I don't think we have sound, do we, Jamie?
I don't think we have sound either. Okay, so maybe it looks like we've got some technical difficulties there. So could we just drop that the link to the video in the chat? It is a wonderful video. I would really encourage everybody to check it out, and it provides a wonderful overview of some of the really neat innovation that's been coming out of Service BC with regards to the BC Services Card and Digital ID. Do you want to give it one more shot? Okay, it looks like it's not going to work, so let's just drop that link there. Bev, I'd love to get into our conversation then. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Can I ask you to start us off, could you provide us a little bit of an overview of Service BC? What are some of the ways that Service BC is using digital tools to provide services to British Columbians?
Sure, thank you, and thanks everyone. It's lovely to be here, everyone. I'm quite excited to have this opportunity to actually have a conversation with you and to share some of the great things that are happening in government in British Columbia, not just in citizen services or Service BC. So a little bit of context for you. In Service BC, we really focus on providing what we like to talk about as a family of services. So we have 65 service centers around the province. So we provide over 300 programs on behalf of government through those centers. We have the Provincial Contact Center, which supports citizens with, wayfinding and basic information. And then we have a large number of focused contact centers that drive out of that one area, like we provide the Spec Tax Contact Center and so on. So we get specialized ones out of that. Then we have our corporate registry, and that provides the overall registry, a number of supports for registries, and really is a focus on supporting businesses throughout the province. So we've got the citizens on one hand and we got businesses on the other. So it's a nice continuum for us for the services that we provide. And then of course, what most of you are here to hear about is our identity management program. So we really try to cover all the bases around our service for citizens. So if I could just do a little shout out about some of the things that we have on the go with regards to digital tools. And the way we like to think about ourselves in Service BC is we actually work on what we call applied digital. So it's how do you make the amazing things that are happening, the new innovations, the new tools that are out there, the whole process of technology, and how do you translate that into an amazing experience for citizens or businesses. So we really focus on the citizen journey, and it's a great partnership that we have with our ministry partners, as well as the GCIO and within Jamie's team. Just how are we going to translate this? Because the whole thing about technology is, certainly for government, is it's got to be a means to an end to a better experience for a citizen or a business. So for us, some of the things that we're working on is, as you can imagine, it's our service card. And so the video what we're doing there is there's 4.7 million service cards out there in British Columbia, and our focus now is to move to a mobile access for that, so that we can prove the citizen's identity and they can access government services digitally. So that's the big push for us at this point, Jamie, and COVID's accelerated that, and citizen expectations have really pushed us to, they want self-service. So service card is a big thing. We're working on the business side. We've got OrgBook BC, which is a source of trust service for businesses. Just recently, we developed what's called the Q, which is a very customized business analytics and workload management tool within Service BC. We developed a book and appointment app because we had such issues with the PHO orders and the lineups outside of our offices. We had to figure out a way to manage that and support that experience for citizens. I mean, that's just some of the things, Jamie, that we have on the go. But you can really see our driver is, okay, how does technology help us support citizens?
That's such a fantastic narrative. And I love hearing about how your team has been responsible for managing those Service BC front desk counters. And then how can technology support people accessing the sort of traditional ways of getting, to access government services?
Yeah.
Let's double down a little bit on the services card and digital identity. Just so often in our world, I think many digital teams hear about the importance of using the BC services card, but I'm not sure that everybody necessarily knows why it's so important. So can you tell us a little bit about the initiatives that you've got underway there?
So the reason why we really believe in the services card is it's a trusted identity for citizens. And that's one of the biggest issues that we have anywhere in sort of our data ecosystem and our digital ecosystem is, how is it that we can assure the person at the keyboard when you're working with someone digitally is actually the person that you want to share your high trusted data, like your health information, your prescriptions, your financial information, and so on. So this is a lot of work that's happened. It's been almost a 10-year journey, so a very long journey for BC. We started this so long ago that actually technology at times overtook us, and we had to do some about turns to make sure we were still ahead of the game, kind of thing. And so that's been a bit of an interesting process, but it's really got a strong foundation in that when you get issued your plastic, like your actual physical card, it's built on very strong standards of identity verification. So it's your foundational information. We really focus on trying to ensure that, there isn't fraud inside of that system so that we know who you are. We're pretty confident right from when we build the process of the card, you are the Jamie Boyd we think you are, kind of thing. And then we translate that into, so we building on that foundation, then we move it into our mobile service card, and that's what we're using, Jamie, to authenticate your identity digitally when you want to access government services. So
I did actually do that. I've got my BC mobile card here on my phone. What's that looking like? Are people actually doing it? Are they downloading the app? How's it going?
It's going almost so well that it may wear us out, Jamie. So we were, before COVID, as an example, we were downloading an average of about, citizens were downloading an average of about 800 cards a day. So they were activating about 800 a day, which is fabulous, because we've only, Jamie, about in the past year started to really focus on we just introduced the mobile app and really got what we feel is a strong user-friendly service for citizens to activate their card. We were a bit clunky before this, so this is we feel the mobile app and the send video or the verify by video process is such a good experience. So we were at 800. We're averaging now about 1,800 activations a day. But here's the kicker. We're working with health, and because of their priority right now around the COVID testing, and they're wanting to give citizens access to their COVID test results through the Health Gateway, which is the health portal for citizens. But you must have your mobile card activated in order to get into the gateway, because we are giving permission to access very high trusted data it's your personal health information, right? So it needed to be that level 3 assurance level to access the data. So you must authenticate through your mobile service card. And so their expectation, Jamie, is that we lift, here we go, drum roll, from 1,800 to 20,000 a day.
Holy smokes. No pressure, hey, Beth?
Like that response. That's the response I needed. Yes, so we've been hiring up, working very hard. This is one of the fastest lifts we have ever done. We've just hired almost 90 staff, and we're training them and starting that process of working the send video. So we are hoping to have, our target is about 2.5 million British Columbians mobilized on the service card within 6 months. It is an amazing lift.
That's phenomenal. Well, congratulations to your team for all the work to date, and like good luck, because that sounds like just a mammoth task. And I have to say, I did my validation before COVID, I think maybe back in February, and I was impressed with how slick the process was. It was, the video chat, and I understand that it's even better now. People have been authenticating in just a matter of minutes. Tell us a little bit about your journey to getting there, because we're a far cry from some of the more traditional approaches to identity. Like, why are we doing it this way? What's been the response from citizens? What kind of services can you access through your digital ID? What does all that look like today?
So, as I said, it's been a 10-year process. And, we started out with, the original thought was that you would be able to, so the card has a chip in it. Your actual physical card has a chip in it. And we started out way back when, and when I say we, I mean those who came long before me on this process. And the thought was that there was going to be the capacity in your actual computer to tap and authenticate against your computer and move forward. That process was going to be there. Over time, though, that didn't happen. So then we came up with another process of, we had card readers, we had a dongle, you sort of stuck into the side of your computer. I mean, we were rapidly trying to keep up with technology and still make it work for this identity, the physical card that we built. But technology changed so much that we knew we had to go the mobile way, and actually, from the app actually to, your digital wallet. That's our next vision of where we likely need to move to. So, I mean, it's just been iterative. It's been consultations with the public. It's been hearing from our partners. It's been trying to parallel our strategic plans with our partners, like our, like health, like education, like finance, and all around. Where is it that you need to go? And we want to make sure that we're going to be in tune and ready for when you need that process. So we've got things like, we've got Health Gateway. We've got the Vancouver Island Health Authority patient portal we authenticate with. We've got the book an appointment through our service centers, what I talked about earlier, the book an appointment app. We've got that process. We're so excited, Jamie. We broke into, just at the end of last year, into federal programs. And so now we've got our Canada Revenue Agency, and we've got things like Canada Pension, and Canada Disability Fund, and employment insurance. And so that's a huge lift for British Columbians, because not only now do they get their provincial services, they're now looking at accessing their federal services. And that all came about, Jamie, because we put such rigor into the build of the card that the Treasury Board Secretariat of Canada designated us as having level 3 assurance. And that one of the only digital identity processes in Canada at this point that has that level 3 assurance. And you need level 3 to access federal services. So we're leading, we're moving things forward. It's just amazing. We were quite excited about one of our first programs we launched was Student Aid. And that was so exciting around that piece. And what it does, not only does it authenticate you and ensure that whole piece around trust, but it also improves your service experience. By having the service card, Jamie, we knocked off about 3 months of process for students that they had to go through, of time that would tick by while they waited to get their user ID and password process.
Wow, this is just so impressive, and it really ties into some of the broader conversations that we've had with many of the people on the call today around government as a platform. You know, people in Quesnel or in Vancouver, they really don't care, how they're accessing these services. They just want it to be seamless. They want to have an easy time, and they aren't too fussed if it's coming from the federal government or the provincial government. They just want to have an easy user experience. So I think your work is a real testament to taking some of those best practices to heart. Just a note for everybody, we are going to have time for a couple of questions. So if you've got questions, please put them in Slido now so that we can get them to Bev. But I do have one more question for you before we open it up, Bev. We've heard in the past on some of these calls that some of the participants are part of digital teams, and they're really keen to get advice on how to be as concrete as possible and really make use of the tools that we're talking about. So how does a digital team onboard? Like if I am in a ministry and I'm building a digital service and I need an identity solution, what do I need to do to make use of the services card? What sort of things do I need to think through? How do I do that?
Okay, so I did reach out to my team to get some advice on this one around those level of details, because I did think the audience would appreciate that. So my first words of wisdom to you is start early. Reach out to the identity team early, because what we can do is, like, we'll even help you, right, if you back up your process, we'll help you with things like what wording to put into your RFP. If you're going out with an RFP, language around your procurement, or, if you're going out and you want the vendor who you may be procuring to understand some of the processes of how you would do the technical integration with the service card, we can share those kinds of things with you. We can help you with, Jamie, you mentioned already the Digital Investment Board, but we can help our partners with some of the language, what kinds of things you might want to put in and to support your investment board submission to be more successful. We can support architecture, planning, and design. So all those things to get you ready to go absolutely are things we can do. We've actually established a checklist that we share with teams, because a lot of what was a bit of a misunderstanding, Jamie, in the past has been like, oh, onboarding to the service card is taking a fair bit of time. And what we really want people to understand is there's a lot of prep work. You and your team have to be ready to onboard. Some of the big pieces of work that need to be done, for example, is a PIA and a straw, because you're going to be using, you're accessing data, and what are you doing with that? And does it meet all the tests? And we need to involve CERMO, our program inside of SITS, with that process. So those are all the kind of things we can help you with. Help desk scripts, with website language. I mean, there's so much that we do, and we'll even help you with your announcements and your messaging to give you the key messaging that we use. Jamie, the punchline that I want to give is if the partner works through the checklist, the actual technical integration for the service card can take about a week. It is not a long time. It is a week that we can move through the technical integration process with you. But a lot of the work is your program ready? Have you met all the tests to move it forward?
Wow, that really is a fantastic success story, making it easier for partners to use those tools. And I know that a lot of your content is available on GitHub, which is pretty encouraging. Makes it very easy to use.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay, so we only have one question, and it's about the Digital Investment Board. So Charles, to your question, we'll follow up with a link to the intro website shortly. And then Bev, you've got a comment in the chat. With 13 people liking it, they are all offering their congratulations for such an incredible uplift and such an inspiring story. So thank you for that. We do have just a couple of more minutes left. So given that there are no questions, I'm going to ask my last question. What's next? Obviously, you've got a huge uplift here in terms of onboarding British Columbians to Digital ID. What's next in your journey?
So, big piece of what's next, Jamie, is standardizing the process and ensuring that we move away in British Columbia from user ID and password. The service card needs to be seen as the common service for authenticating your identity online and in person. That's what government has invested in. So more and more people are starting to lift into that world. So that's really the big piece of work that we need to do. We are now working on some of so we seem to have, honestly, we've got the process pretty much in place for British Columbia. Now we're working on, but British Columbians don't just stay in BC or do business in BC. We know that, right? So now we've got to think about solving the problem of what about the out of province solution? What about businesses who are, in Alberta and want to have interactions in BC? How do they do that? How do they authenticate if they don't have? They wouldn't, a BC service card. So what's our out of province solution? What about doctors who come in to support in our health services? How do we ensure they're who they are and how do they get access to the services they need, like Prime and so on? So that's some of the big things that we're moving to. And then really, Jamie, the next big lift for us is we've sort of solved the individual identity piece with our service card. We've got some of the piece around the business solved with Workbook. Now we need to deal with how do we bring those two together in the relationship piece, and how do we solve that triangle of identity for the whole piece of how do I know you're a director that's representing a company, or that you're a delegated professional like a accountant or what have you that represents my company. How do we start proving out those pieces online? Easy to do in person, more difficult online. So those are the problems we're trying to get to solve now.
That's so great. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, Bev. This has been incredibly inspiring. Everybody, you heard it here first. Make sure you go and download that app and validate your mobile version of your services card. And thank you very much to you and to your team, Bev, for all of your wonderful leadership. Thank you so much, everybody. And we're going to wrap it up there. So have a wonderful day.